Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the good news for today. Something that absolute clanger of a story that I missed last night, but I think we're going to have some fun going through it now, which just shows the absolute clown show state of our legal system here in the United Kingdom. I haven't read this story. I've just had a couple of keynotes that I picked up elsewhere. So I know that this is going to be absolutely wild when we read it. So anyway, let's crack on. This is from the Mail Online. ISIS fanatic who snuck into Britain illegally is given UK citizenship despite security service terror threat warning. So this is a man who is a known terror threat who's come to the UK, and the judge has said, yep, I'm going to rubber stamp your right to reside in the United Kingdom. You cannot make this madness up. This is what I talk about when I say do not listen to what these people say. Look at their actions of what they do. We have an actual fifth column operating in our country, and I don't care what they try and say to justify their actions on. They will try and pull out, well, I'm just following this law and that law. Poppycock. Absolute poppycock. They're just cowards who do not want to go against the grain and make a new legal precedent and a new type of ruling. Because judges actually do have the power to do that. They can actually go, well, I interpret this law in this way. But they won't do it. They are cowards and or traitors, in my opinion. Right, let's carry on with this. So, an ISIS fanatic who MI5 warns poses a terror threat to Britain has been granted the right to live in the UK after sneaking into the country illegally. So he's entered the country. Not only is he a terror threat, he's an illegal migrant as well. This is why people are getting furious with immigration in this country, because this is just one story that we're being told about. How many other thousands of stories are similar to this? The Mail on Sunday can reveal judges have ruled that the Sudanese man can remain here on human rights grounds despite evidence from the security services that he may be a danger and might encourage other... That might's doing a lot of heavy lifting there, I think, as a word. I think that's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I don't think it's might. I think the word should be will. But I don't think the newspaper wants to get sued. Might cause extremists to launch attacks in the UK. The judge's ruling was based on the risk that if he was sent back to Sudan, he might be detained and tortured. Oh, boo-hoo. The person who poses a terrorist threat to us and was a member of ISIS might get tortured when he goes back home. Oh, please, will somebody think of the terrorists, won't they? Oh, my goodness. Will somebody not think of the human rights of the terrorists who hate us and want to kill us? F off. Seriously, F off. This is what I'm saying. These judges, in my opinion, they're the terrorists, in my opinion. Those people, they are fifth columnists. They are communist agitators. McCarthy was absolutely right when he said there was Reds under the bed. Our system is riddled with them. And people think, oh, I'll vote for this party, I'll vote for that party. This will change that. Nothing will change. It doesn't matter who you vote for, because it's not just... I mean, don't get me wrong, the politicians are a massive problem. We've seen that with the rulings that they've been making and the unwillingness to change laws when they could. But it's the entire civil service, it's the entire judiciary, top to bottom, needs clearing out. It is just ram-packed full of activists. And this proves it once again. The decision was made despite the court hearing that the man, who by law we are only allowed to know as S3. Oh, God forbid we should know his identity as well, so we can be on the lookout for this dangerous man. Oh, obviously our rights as citizens of the United Kingdom don't matter, and his right to a private life supersedes our rights just before he kills us. First entered Britain illegally 18 years ago. 18 years ago, and was granted asylum before travelling regularly between this country and Sudan without any issues. Once again, proving that the judges are, in my opinion, purposefully wrecking the country. These judges are activists, and they need rooting out, and the government needs to pass laws to start holding these people. Maybe you can't sack them, but what they can do is say, with these extreme cases, if they go on to commit an extreme crime, you get the same sentence as that criminal, that potential future threat. That is what they need to start doing, holding these individuals accountable for their dereliction of duty to actually protect the nation from our enemies. MI5 warned judges that the man is an ISIS propagandist who spread vile material calling for jihad again. So he's a propagandist. He is the Joseph Goebbels of ISIS. This is a man who absolutely will rally people up because he knows how to communicate his nefarious and disgusting ideas to people who already have an inkling to that. To allow this man to stay in our country is insanity. It is absolute. It's agitation, really, is what they're doing. These judges, by allowing this to happen, they are actually supplanting an army within our own borders. These judges, in my opinion, are fifth columnists. Dangerous people, deluded as well. I think they are psychologically damaged people, in my opinion. Now, I've never met them, and I'm purely judging this off this one interaction I've had with this judge, which is this article up to now, or judges, and I am very, very concerned about their ability to actually do their jobs and whether they are compos mentis enough to even comprehend danger properly. Like their ability to analyse risk, to me, is non-existent. These are the sort of people who I wouldn't be surprised who would probably rule that, well, you know what, children should be allowed to consent to have sex because, you know, we believe in everybody having equal rights. That's the sort of madness that that I believe these sorts of judges would come out with. I genuinely believe that. They are the sort of people who would try and advocate for that. The court heard British officials stripped him of his UK passport in 2018 over fears of the threat he posed. Well, why not just deport him? But that he had managed to sneak back into Britain illegally for a second time. This will kick him out straight. This is the problem about letting him stay in the country so long. By allowing him to loiter here for years on end, they managed to get all these court cases dragged out. And you know what? The government should just make a law where they can overrule this. And just go, no, we're getting rid of him anyway. We don't care what the judges have said in this regard. Get rid of him. Bin him off. He's no use to us. Or put him on trial and give him a death sentence for having been a member of ISIS. There's another option. Managed to sneak back into Britain for a second time. This month, immigration judges ruled he can remain living here and granted him lifelong anonymity. This is also the same with the two, for those who may not know, there was a murder that happened in the early 90s. A young boy called James Bulger was 3 years old. He was in a shopping centre with his mum. She was paying for something at the till and she literally turned her back for no more than 30 seconds to talk to the person at the till. When that happened, these two boys, Robert Thompson and John Venables, ran over, took his hand and ran off with him. And those two boys were about 10 years old when they did that. And they brutally murdered him. And then they left his body on train tracks to try and make it look like he'd been hit by a train. Those two individuals, one of them is out in the streets now. They have got lifelong anonymity protection. I can only describe by law what they would have looked like at the time that they were being done for murder because their identities were shown to the public. So they're up to the age of they were going to court. You can show them pictures in the UK, that's fine. If I knew what one of them looked like now, which I don't, I couldn't even describe him to you even in a vague sense. That would be me, but that's how protected those people are. I think it's John Venables is still inside because he's repeatedly been found to have child pornography on his computers whenever he's had them. So he's an absolute out and out nonce. And Robert Thompson, I think, is living a new life. I don't think those two individuals should get lifelong anonymity, and I think it's absolutely disgusting that the courts have done that. Once again, this is just repeatedly the courts ruling in favour of these absolutely disgusting people and showing where the loyalties lie. And in my opinion, it isn't with the people of this country. Courts documents obtained by the Mail on Sunday reveal MI5 warned that the man had demonstrated to commit to the extremist ideology of ISIS. There we go. This is MI5 saying this. You know, these people are serious. And for those who don't know, MI stands for military intelligence. You know, these are really serious people, and they know what they're talking about. You know, we may find some of the things that questionable that they do, but at the end of the day, when it comes to them knowing about who dangerous people are, they really, really know the stuff. The documents state there was a realistic possibility that he would seek to radicalise other individuals and encourage them to engage in Islamist extremist activities. Last night, former Tory leader Ian Duncan Smith said, "This is ridiculous. Judges ought to understand that the security service make it clear that someone poses a danger to the British public. He has forfeited his human rights with regards to staying in the UK." Well, I think part of this as well, actually, and again, I'm not way of proving this, it's just a sneaky suspicion I've got. I think a lot of these judges because of the way our legal systems operated for so many years and how intertwined it's been with the EU. I think these judges are railing still against Brexit, and I think a lot of this is them trying to, because you can grandfather in certain laws and precedents. So if they keep making rulings that aren't legal, that aren't in law, if they do it enough times, it eventually becomes law in and of itself. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these judges are actually working as activists as well to try and push us back into the EU via the court system, or at least try and get us re-intertwined back into it, because they are incapable of operating outside of it now, because they're institutionalised into the same with our civil service, how they were constantly trying to undermine the Brexit process. Is because they are so intertwined with the EU, they are incapable of thinking without its ever over-imposing presence and guidance. They're like children without, left alone in a classroom on their own without a teacher. They've no idea what to do, and it's crazy. And Professor Anthony Glees, a terrorism expert at Buckingham University, called the decision unacceptable. That's a understatement of the century there, I would say, but at least he's saying the right words. 3 judges at a court called the Special Immigration Appeals Commission, never heard of that before, that is brand new information to me, made the ruling against the Home Office, which has been trying to deport S3 since 2018, change the rules. The government has the actual power to change the rules and the laws. They are not willing to do it, and again, this is what I'm saying, it's all well and good Ian Duncan Smith saying that. What have they actually done to change the rules? Nothing at all. They do not actually care. And that is the problem. It's all smoke and mirrors, or as the Japanese call it, kabuki theatre, which is that kind of like Punch and Judy shows, but where it's all shadow puppets, basically, behind a paper screen. They call their politics kabuki theatre, and I think it's quite quite apt description. And it's the same. It's the same with our politicians. They say all the right things, but they don't do the right things, and that is the problem. And I know I said that the problem is deeper than politicians themselves, but they won't clear out the civil service either and get in decent people. They could, even with the senior civil servants, they could pass rules where they can sack them on the spot for gross negligence, which they can decide. They can make the rules so they can decide what gross negligence is. So that would make the civil servants perform. Either you perform or you get sacked on the spot with no appeal. They could pass rules saying that, but they won't do it. They could actually make it a form of treason to not actually do as you're told and to work for the government properly. A dereliction of duty. Turn them into a sort of quasi-military contract. The suspected jihadi can now live freely in the country without neighbours, work colleagues, and the public knowing that he is potentially a dangerous terrorist who wants to launch deadly attacks. You see, that is just absolutely sickening. That is absolutely sickening. This man could be living anywhere near any of us, around our children, possibly going to be a sex offender as well. Now, people might say I'm generalising there. I don't care. I do think that this man is going to be... I won't be surprised if this man ends up being a sex offender and committing some sort of sexual attack, either against young children or drunk women. Some of the really horrible crimes that we've heard, by the way, I don't just mean like a bit of a fondle, an unwanted fondle and grope. I'm talking really, really serious sexual crimes. Because he's been involved in an organisation which has set people on fire in cages, cooked people in hot oil, cut their heads off, torn them apart with horses, like tying their arms and their legs to 2 different horses and dragging them apart. This man is a monster, an absolute out-and-out monster. So really, to him, sexually attacking somebody is so low level compared to some of the things that he'll have done and seen. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. The court documents reveal how S3 entered the country illegally in 2005, days after the 7/7 attack in London Underground network. He claimed asylum immediately, stating he will be tortured. Well, he says he'll be tortured. You see, this is the golden words. Well, if I go back, I'll be tortured. Don't need to provide any proof, no evidence, just the magic words. Got to believe all victims, haven't we? Got to believe them all, just based on the fact they've said it. Got to be true. Despite Home Office attempts to deport him, S3 was given an indefinite leave to remain in Britain. He was granted British citizenship in 2015. Sorry about that. During a 4-month stay in Sudan from December 2016, MI5 received intelligence that S3 had become an ISIS propagandist and was disseminating the group's messages on social media. At the time, as a Western-led coalition was attacking ISIS in Syria, the group was sending out messages and videos urging extremists to launch terrorist attacks Membership of ISIS, made infamous by British executioner Mohammed Emwazi, known as Jihadi John, was banned and punishable with up to 14 years in jail. So why is this man not being put in prison for 14 years when he was an actual member of ISIS? Oh, that's right, because they don't actually care about it. It's all just smoke and mirrors for the plebs. That's all any of this is, because they don't want anything to change. Otherwise, they would change it. It is not known who S3 associated with in Khartoum, Sudan. I believe that's the capital city there, during his stay. But at the time, the city's University of Medical Sciences and Technology had become a major ISIS recruiting ground. Well, we shouldn't be letting anybody from Sudan in the country, then, should we? More than 20 British medical students studying there went to Syria to join ISIS. And at the time as well, by the way, this is just an interesting little factoid, when it was all kicking off in Syria, there was more British Muslims fighting for ISIS against Bashar al-Assad than there were serving in the British Army at that time. Just to give you a bit of an interesting tidbit there. You make of that information as you will. His lawyer argued that the Home Office decision to deprive him of UK citizenship was illegal as it breached Article 2 and 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights. And that's what I was saying before about these judges being Europhilic and not wanting to do what's right for Britain. And by the way, the European Convention on Human Rights, those laws, they're not binding in any way, shape or form. They're purely advisory. So these judges do not have to go with them. But they are cowards and they will not do it. Or traitorous, or seditionists, or all of the above. Take your pick. And as a right to not be subjected to torture. I don't agree with that, to be honest with you. I do not agree with that. He's made his bed. You go lie in it. Go home, and you face the consequences of your decisions and bad choices. I think he's lying, personally. I don't think he's at risk of torture there. But even if he is, I don't care. I genuinely don't care. Not my problem. Not this country's problem. That's his problem. Last night, the Home Office declined to comment, saying it is long-standing government policy that we do not routinely comment on individual cases. Yeah, well, that's because they know that they look like absolute... Well, I'm not going to say the word, because I'm not going to explain why. There's a bit on this about the MI5 dossier on this guy with dates and things. I'll post the link below. Have a look at the article. Do go to the end of it. It's got all the dates and activities that MI5 have given to court. Quite interesting. Have a look at it yourself. I'll leave it there for now. Hopefully, after that, enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to have to go have a cup of tea to calm myself down. Oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, and give us a comment below, please, if you found that informative or interesting. Take care now. Bye-bye.